So, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome once again to our tape concerning the slow foxtrot. We thought you might like to know a little of the origins of this beautiful, smooth, silky dance that just happens to be our favourite of the ballroom dances. The slow foxtrot is a dance of the 20th century which originated in the United States of America in 1912 and came to England in 1914. At its outset, it consisted of alternating measures of long and short strides, but then developed into a variety of long and short steps. It split into the slow and the quick foxtrot, which then became the slow foxtrot and the quick step that we dance and know so well today.
Well, we come on to now identification of the slow foxtrot. As we're all aware, the dance developed from the basic steps having curves and waves to something that today, as we're already aware of, is primarily linear. It shows clear and simple lines of movement, and its beauty, as we already know, lies in the somewhat simplicity of the fundamental steps. Owing to the time available in the slow foxtrot, especially the slows, it gives us the chance to show the full, exact movements and give the clarity to the leg as well as the foot action. The essence of the slow foxtrot is to master the bass time. It's something that you must work on as hard as you can. It's something that Anna and myself continuously practice to get to work onto this bass time. And to be counting in the beats is essential. Now, when we come on to the phrasing of the music in slow foxtrot, it's not as strong because the accents are not highlighted, and the margin between crescendo and diminuendo is not as strong as, for example, the tango. That, I believe, is the identification of the slow foxtrot.
It only hurts for a little while. That's what they tell me. That's what they say. It only hurts for a little while. For a little while. Then all your heart pass away. We pass away. It's so easy to be smart when somebody else's heart. But I don't know how to start. Forgetting you, what can I do? It only
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you probably recognise some of the classical steps there of the slow foxtrot. What we actually danced for you was the feather step, the reverse turn, the three-step into the natural open impetus, weave, and change of direction. There was many other classical steps that I'm sure you're aware of in the slow foxtrot, but we have a special reason actually for selecting these 6 bass figures for our classical slow foxtrot. Going back in time to December 1972, I'm sure some of you weren't even born then. I was a junior at the time, lying at about 60th in the country, 59 couples above me, and I was getting a little bit worried because I was coming up to my last junior black ball. I had one more chance, and this was to be held at the Tower Ballroom at Blackpool in the month of April. And I went to my teacher in London and asked him, what should I do? It's my last chance. I've got to do well at this competition if I'm going to have any opportunity to do well when I'm an adult in the amateur and professional ranks. And he had a look at my dancing. I danced all my dances for him, and he told me, if you dance that slow foxtrot with those figures that you're dancing now, you'll have no chance. I said, well, why is it? He said, well, there's no clarification, there's no classicism there, it's a load of steps with no identity at all to the slow foxtrot. So he gave me a recommendation, and you know what I'm going to say. The steps that we've just danced for you, those 6 figures, was my routine for Blackpool. The end of the story is I went to Blackpool and I became British junior champion in April of 1973. So there you have it. I didn't think it'd be possible, but it just goes to prove that if you get yourself involved with the classical figures of slow foxtrot, anything is possible. And I've continued to have belief in the classical figures of slow foxtrot ever since. 20 years since this thing happened. What we'd like to do with the slow foxtrot today is to discuss 4 of the fundamentals that we believe are important for the dance. Those 4 fundamentals being shoulders and hips, the forces, posture and poise, and of course, we can't forget timing. The classical figures, as I mentioned, I'd like to discuss each of those 4 facets to the feather step, the reverse turn and 3-step, and then I'll go on to discuss the natural open impetus turn, the weave, and the change of direction. So coming on to the classical steps, the first 3 steps I'd like to talk about being the feather step, the reverse turn, and the 3-step. And the fundamental I'd like to discuss relative to these 3 figures is forces. Now, if I just dance the feather, reverse and 3 and start to talk about the forces, from our preparation step, we have got what is called inertia. We've got a resistance factor of the foot to the floor. What we need to have from here is the drive action, which is classification is called propulsion. Now, without inertia, for example, if we were dancing on ice, it would be very difficult to be able to dance because we need the resistance to be able to drive and move off. Very important key factor for slow foxtrot. Very important to understand inertia, the resistance of the floor in the standing foot. We've also got a resistance, the inertia, in the moving foot. This is to be able to give you the exact timing that you specify and you exactly want. So from my standing foot here in the preparation step for the slow foxtrot, for the feather step, I've got my resistance to the floor. I'm going to use that to start to drive my body through to the first step. Now from this position here, I'm going to be driving my center through the resistance, again, of the new standing leg. So I've got the resistance, I'm going to use the hip, knee, ankle and toe to create the drive, but also, this is, I believe, the secret to slow foxtrot, is the resistance now in the moving leg to give you the exact timing that you want. Coming through. Now, I've just said the exact timing that you want. I'd like to just indicate to you the amount of time that you've got to produce this full drive. If we split the beat down into half beats, so we've got 1 slow, which is 2 beats, splitting down again is 4 half beats. So from this drive position here, we've got a half a beat to come back to normal, and now from here we've got 3 half beats to complete the drive. We've got 1, 2, 3, and we collect on the 4th beat. From here moving on, we've got half a beat onto the foot, half a beat half a beat collection, continuing again into the slow. That's one of the secrets. You've got the half beat. Now the swing factor is coming through to the neutral and moving on. So you could say that you've got 4 half beats to drive, because you've got the beat before coming to the neutral, and then you've got the full 3 half beats to produce your action. It's very important to be clear on that. The opportunity to produce this full drive is what Foxtrot is all about. If I showed you a comparison against the waltz, if we do a waltz natural turn, you've got from here 3 and you've only got half a beat here. You've got 1, and that's actually finished the drive, because you've got the collection after that. So you've got a significant difference in the drive of a slow Foxtrot, slow, compared with the drive of any other figure, or any other dance in fact. So it's important to consider the bass timing, because this is the key to slow Foxtrot. You must master this timing. So from your standing position, you're aware of the timing. You've got your preparation step for driving, and 1 and 2, collecting for and 3 and 4 and moving on again into the reverse turn. Just because of space limiting here, I'll continue from this angle. So you've got from here 4 and continuing to drive again. As I pointed out with the feather step, you've got the same here in the reverse turn. You've got the resistance factor of the moving leg so that you can time it. Without that resistance factor, with the force of drive that you've got, it'll be too quick. So you need that resistance so you can have the maximum drive, the fullness of action. When you see top-class couple dancing a slow Foxtrot, they always look slow, don't they? The best couples look slow, they look full, they've got volume across the floor. Some of the other couples, you see them bright, skipping around the floor, but we all know that's not true slow Foxtrot. True slow Foxtrot is the understanding of the bass timing and the perseverance to try to achieve this skill of getting the slows right. So coming back to my first question about feather step, reverse turn into 3-step, to understand the forces, we've got resistance, the inertia, and the propulsion. The propulsion is the energy to produce the drive force. So center over foot, driving through, 4, and moving on. So coming into a feather step now, got a collection point, 4 and, 1 and 2 and, collecting, continuing to move, and collecting again, continuing to drive. So it's this beautiful contrast of drive that is so important. Now, from this reverse turn, got the reverse turn here, driving again through this feather finish. Now from here, we've got the absorption from the lady swinging through. And again, we've got the drive from the standing leg, ready to go into the 3-step. We've got here a timing of 4, and 1 and 2. So again, you've got those 4 half-beat drives from this position to the collection, to the 3 half-beats of the slow, to collection. I'm sorry, it might sound complicated, but the more you get into the habit of understanding the slow, splitting it up into 4, the first 3 are the drive. The first, whatever it is, the reverse turn, the 3-step, the feather step, any bass figure where you've got that timing of slow, quick, quick, occurs very often, very popular timing in the slow Foxtrot. It's the character of the dance. So whenever you've got slow, quick, quick, the first drive is 3 half beats, and you collect the 4th one. You must have that. So coming to this three-step here, you've got this collection from the previous bar, and you're driving through, collecting, and it's quick, quick to finish. So I'd just like to dance that for you once more, counting it for you in these half beats relative to the forces of this classical slow foxtrot figure. So from here, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 4 and. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's my belief of slow foxtrot, getting down to the nitty-gritty, getting down to the understanding of those slows and quicks relative to the forces of basic action. What I think I'd like to do now, I'd like to bring Anne onto the floor, and I'm sure she would like to discuss the ladies' part relative to the feather, reverse and three-step.
So, of the fundamental subjects that we have chosen, I have decided to talk about the shoulders and the hips. But before we do that, John and I would like to show you the feather step, the reverse turn and the three-step, and you'll be able to appreciate the things that John was talking about. So perhaps, John, would you like to join on the floor?
It'll only hurt for a little while. That's what they tell me. That's what they say. It only hurts for a little while. For a little while. Then all your hurry.
So I would now like to talk about the hips and shoulders in this figure, the feather step, reverse turn and three-step. The reason I have chosen the shoulders and the hips is because the shoulders and their action control the upper spine, and the hips control the lower or lumbar region of the spine. So that's why I've decided to talk about these two areas, because their usage through the action will give you great mobility through your spine generally. So I'm going to talk about the feather step in detail regarding the hip and also the shoulders, and then what we'll do is go through the other two figures rather quickly, and then we'll just talk about the slight differences. So I'm going to commence here with the feather step. So if I move backwards onto my right foot as the preparation step, I'm now in a neutral position. I'm going to be doing two things here. Firstly, driving my centre of gravity away from my right foot using my supporting leg. And secondly, producing CBM, commencing from, of course, again, the right foot. So I'll do that now from here. So there I've produced those two actions, a backward swing plus turn. I'm now standing on my left foot, and my centre of gravity at this moment, which is beat 2 and, is perfectly over the centre of my left foot. So that's beat 2 and my right leg will be underneath my body. From here, the angle of my hips in relationship to the floor will change, so I'm going to be producing sway. And what that means is that, in a sense, from the pressure of body weight through the left foot, my right hip will be lifting upwards or rising, and what will happen is then it will cause me to produce a ball of foot in my right foot there, as you can see, ready for the man to go outside partner. So I'll just recap on that once again. We have backward swing and CBM on the right foot, and we have sway coming in from the left foot, from beat 2 and. So if I just go on to the reverse turn, the same actions will be occurring. Again, a backward swing and CBM, and this time it's going to come or commence from the left foot as I go back. The only difference here will be that the turn of the reverse turn is greater, therefore we're producing a little more CBM, more turn. therefore, and the sway action is going to be coming this time from the right leg as I bring my feet together, dancing the heel turn. And if we just move on to the 3-step, the backward swing and the turn is going to commence this time again from the left foot. The difference here is, of course, that the 3-step is basically a straight line action, so there will be very little CBM, but it is necessary in order to allow the man to swing forward. And the sway action will be coming off the right foot, so I'm going to swing backwards and turn, and sway coming in from the right leg. So that encompasses the actions of the hip in these 3 figures. The next thing I would like to talk about is the shoulder action, and again we're going to look at that in the feather step. I'd like to just summarise briefly for you the purpose of the action of shoulders, and I have to include the hands and arms because of course they are directly connected to the shoulders. There's a great requirement of softness and mobility in the lady's hands and arms, primarily as a way of absorbing power or absorbing the man's action and allowing him to be positive and powerful in his movements. So if we reverse the situation and I had very strong, if we say stiff arms, then I would be preventing or restricting the man from being potentially at his maximum power. So therefore, it's a necessity for the lady to be soft and mobile in her arms and upper spine in order for the man to be at his maximum capabilities. So again, I'm going to start from this first step of the feather step, moving backwards, and the arms will start to swing immediately, which in fact is before beat 1. We're going to start the arm swing on 4 and as you can see there as I go onto my supporting foot, the elbows are turning, you can see in the shoulders, and of course the hands are held very softly. So let's just do that again. 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. And they will turn or softly move throughout the whole of that bar of music. Going on to the reverse turn now. Again, 4 and will commence this action. So I'm going to start to turn my shoulders and arms as I lower through the ball heel of my left foot, 4 and then they will continue to turn, of course, in the same direction as the CBM of my hip, going through into the reverse turn. And lastly, we're going to talk about the 3-step. Again, the timing will be 4 and as the weight goes down through the ball heel, the shoulders will start to turn, and as you can see there, the CBM and the shoulder swing will be combined. Okay, so I hope that's given you an idea of what's going on in the upper and lower spine, of course activated by shoulders and by hips.
It'll only hurt for a little while. That's what they tell me. That's what they say. It'll only hurt for a little while. For a little while. Then all your heart pass away. We pass away. It's so easy to be smart with somebody else.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you've just seen, and myself, that's the natural open impetus turn into the natural weave and concluding with the change of direction. The fundamental aspect that we'd like to discuss relative to the 3 classical figures is relative to the posture and poise. Of course, posture and poise is important in everything we dance, but we'd like to go into a little bit of detail relative to this particular amalgamation. Now, we're all aware of postures. It's the 4 blocks of weight: head, shoulders, rib cage and hips, aligned with one vertical centre. Just go into a little bit of detail about poise. Poise is the pitch of the body. So if I go to the side, we've got our 4 blocks of weight. It's the pitch of the body towards the toe, or towards the heel, or central, which is the ideal position, or it can actually be the pitch of the body going to the side, or to this side. It can also be the pitch of the body in a diagonal position. So basically we have a 360-degree range of pitch around the body. We have this range facility that we can use. Of course, without this range, the dancing will look brittle and stiff. In other words, if we keep our poise the same all the time, it will look very stiff. So we need this change in range of poise across the feet to give us the freedom and softness of movement. So we identified posture and poise now relative to particular amalgamation. I just actually show you now. So from here we're going into this open natural impetus turn. So from a preceding step, from here, your poise is slightly behind the foot, although your posture is correct, so that the weight can be driven forwards. The poise then is changing across the feet. Like we talked in detail about the first step in the beginning of the tape, we need to be able to have an opportunity to drive the weight through. If the poise is pitched slightly forward, like for example with our predecessors many, many years ago, they had the style of weight being pitched forward, so because of that there was the lack of opportunity to drive the weight through. So the awareness of poise here, and of course posture, so that the weight can be driven through. Coming to this figure. Now, another particular aspect that I'd like to discuss with regard to the open impetus turn, because of the energy in the flow, and especially the lady continuing to swing past, what I need to do, of course, it's common knowledge now that we need to angle our centre towards our lady so that we can have this correct slope. But what also has to happen, the poise has to compensate for the swing. So the poise will be going diagonally across the feet while the lady is swinging on. This will create perfect balance. If you keep your poise central to your feet and your lady swinging on, there's a likelihood that she will actually pull you off balance. So there's this change of poise across the feet, the diagonal, so you can actually create this shape. If I do it at another angle here, from here we're creating the change so we can lead then. And so it's got this fluidity, this 3-dimensional approach to it. Now, coming on to the weave, the poise has to be kept towards the front part of the foot. The reason for this, if it's kept central, with the lady swinging and driving through, she can actually put you back onto the heels. So actually, when the technique was written, it was suggested actually from here to keep toes all the way through to encourage the poise to be kept towards the balls of the feet, which I actually agree with, but I think when you become an experienced dancer and you can feel where your poise is, you can have the facility then of actually doing the alternative footwork, of actually lowering back on to the heel whilst your poise is still kept forward. I think I ought to make that a little bit more clear again for you. So from here, we've got a poise towards our feet, our toes, as well as lowering onto heel. Okay? Concluding now with change of direction, it's the same particular aspect here. Because of the energy aspect, like in the open impetus turn, the lady is moving away. You need, of course, to keep your centre towards her, but also to feel the poise is kept leftwards. Summarising now about these 3 figures in our amalgamation: awareness of posture, but very aware of poise so that it can be used for the driving factor and also the balancing factor. Thank you very much.
En om die hört a little while. That's what they tell me, that's what they say. It only hurts for a little while, for a little while. Then all your heartache, will pass away, It's so easy to be smart with somebody.
So we're moving on now to our advanced figures in the slow foxtrot. What we've just danced for you is the basic hover cross. What we'd like to do for you is to show you advancements within the hover cross, and we've selected 3 of them for you. In this first section, we've just shown you one alternative version, which is called the box hover cross. The reason it's called the box is because the basic shape of it resembles a box. Now, the fundamentals that I'll be discussing relative to the hover cross and its developments will be the forces involved to maintain balance and to maintain the required shape for this particular figure. What I'd like to do, I'd like to go through the figure, advising of the balance required for the figure in connection with the forces. So I'll just dance the figure for you now. From a promenade position, for example, here, here, here. Now, as you're coming into this, the general feeling is the weight wants to continue. The force of weight wants to continue. So you must counteract this position through center angling towards, foot pressure, and a feeling of shape out to the left, continuing this shape, because the lady will be moving on. So I'll just do it in front of the camera. As the lady is actually moving around, she's creating energy in a circular, so you must counteract this energy as she's going through. Very important, this. Otherwise, the 3-dimensional approach to it will be limited and the continuous flow will be lost. So it's a feeling of a continuous action moving around. What I'd like to do for you now, I'd like to dance the other 2 developments that we've selected for themes on a hover cross, and then we'll get involved with a little bit more description on the other 2 versions.
It only hurts for a little while. That's what they tell me, that's what they say. It only hurts for a little while.
So we have just danced for you the hover cross and weave, which is commonly termed as the 10 quick weave. And this is a very good alternative in floorcraft purposes to the top spin. Now, a little earlier in the tape, I was discussing the action of the shoulders and arms in the simpler steps, the feather step and the reverse turn and 3-step. So now I'm going to discuss the action of the shoulders and arms in this step, which of course requires more turn, so therefore is a little more complicated. So if I start this action from promenade position, as I move through into promenade position, the man here is going to be moving around me on the outside of turn. So the area of the body that's going to join, if we say my inside of turn and his outside of turn, of course is the hands and the arms. So it's my job here, whilst maintaining my balance over my left foot, to swing my arms towards my partner who is on the outside of turn. So once again here, the upper body is moving towards the man on the outside of turn, which then allows me to swing forward afterwards. So we'll do that once again. I'm moving into promenade position, swinging the arms towards him, and then eventually, of course, coming forward to dance the hover action. Now the next thing that will happen from here, if I go into the hover again, I'm going to go into a heel turn action, and again as I move backwards my arms will be swinging to my partner, who once more is on the outside of turn. I'm going to a heel turn, and that's the inside. So as I step backwards from my right foot into the heel turn, which is going to go back onto the left foot, my arms are swinging towards my partner who's on the outside of turn. So there you can see I've got a very positive vertical column there, and the arms are swinging around that. So whilst my body is not progressing at that moment, my arms are following his turn. So we could say in a sense that the arms are the most active part of the body at that moment. And once I've completed that heel turn here, there's the action, and of course the arms will continue to swing towards partner now as I move outside into the last part of the weave before I dance a feather finish.
It only hurts for a little while. That's what they tell me. That's what they say. It only hurts for a little while. For a little while. Then all your heartache, will pass away. It's so easy to be smart with somebody else's heart, but I don't know how to start. Forgetting you, what can I do? It only hurts for a little while. For a little while. That's what they tell me.
So you've just seen Anne and myself dance our third development of the hover cross. It's the continuous turning hover cross into the same foot lunge. The fundamental aspect I'd like to talk about with regard to this third development will be shoulders and hips. I'd just like to go through the figure first to give you the timing, and there was one footwork alternative I'd like to advise as well. So if I just dance through this figure once more for you. Just giving the timing first, and slow. Quick, 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 slow, slow, slow. Okay. Now, we're all aware that when we dance a quick, the footwork should be a toe. However, I believe on this particular amalgamation, one of the quicks should be a heel because we're doing a drive step. I'd just like to point that particular one out to clarify it. So from here, if I go through the footwork, here, ball, heel, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, heel, so that now I can drive through on the heel. Heel, ball, heel, flat, flat. Just want to identify that step once more, where the alternative footwork is. If I do the footwork for the normal quick, it'll be all toes. So the one version would be ball, heel, heel, toe, 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 heel. Going through, because it's a weave and it's all quicks, you can dance the continuous toe version. I, myself, like to dance ball or toe, heel, so that now I can actually drive through with the heel. So I can drive through into this same foot lunge. It was just a point I thought was very important to mention. Now, relative to the shoulders and hips, because of the continuous turning action here and the gentleman moving from outside of turn to inside of turn, it's very important that the gentleman is blending his shoulders through shoulder swing to the lady to enable the step to have the right three-dimensional look towards it. So if I just dance it once more, advising where I will be swinging my shoulders. So from here, I'm in my promenade position. As I step forward, I'm starting to move my shoulders towards my lady, keeping them approximately the same. Now this left hand is continuously moving towards lady. I've got my shape in this angle here. Now, I must allow the lady to pass, because she's in this position here. If I go too early, it'll be a problem. So the only thing I can do from here is to swing my arms with the lady until she's actually overtaken. So I'm timing her, she swings across, then I can step in. From here, I'm shaping the arms, and then the normal same foot lunge position, which you, of course, you are well aware of with regard to the shaping of the arms and shoulder swing. I'd like now to talk about the usage of the hips from promenade position here as I drive through, feeling the right hip is softening down slightly to give a little bit of shape. Going into the hover cross, the angle is changing and maintaining that shape. The lady, as I mentioned before, is overtaking, so I'm collecting the weight and leveling off. Now I'm driving forward from the left hip. Very important now is the collection of weight. Collection of weight. So I'm anchored down to the left-hand side. If I just show you in this angle here as I go across the floor, so as I'm moving down, I'm coming to neutral, I'm driving, but now it's the collection. Very strong collection of foot, ball to heel, very flat, because the lady's rotation is sending you on quite considerably. So from here, collection, and then you can develop the line into the same foot lunge. So the skill factor for the step is the continuous turning and the blending of the bodies together so that we don't gap and we don't separate. A goal and a theme for Anne and myself is to dance these figures with our bodies continuously in contact, so we're not having gaps that you see from time to time in couples. So the goal is the blending of the arms together so that body contact can be maintained and so that the efficiency of the step can also be achieved. So going through once more, shoulder swing and usage of hips, shoulder swing, 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 big swing here, going into the same foot lunge position. Okay, what I'd like to do now, I'd like to invite Anne onto the floor, and I'm sure she would like to discuss one or two points relative to the lady in this continuous hover cross to same foot lunge. Thank you very much.
So I'm now going to talk about the lady's shoulder swing, breaking it down into two parts for you. Firstly, the hover cross section, where I will be on the inside of the turn, the gentleman will be on the outside of the turn, and my arms will be swinging towards him on the outside of turn, whilst of course my main body will be on the inside. So we'll dance that section for you first. So I'm moving into position, swinging my arms to the outside of turn. Okay. So the next section I'm going to be talking about is the heel turn. And again here, I'm on the inside of turn. The gentleman is on the outside of turn. And this one is particularly important because after the heel turn, we'll be moving straight into the same foot lunge. So there's a big shoulder swing here that will continue from the section of heel turn where I'm on the inside, and I'll be moving towards the outside of turn with my hands and arms. So it's constant swing here through the shoulders. So we're going to pick it up now from the end of the hover cross. And we're going to go into the heel turn, arm swing now with the man on the outside of turn, and continues into the same foot lunge position. So One little point there at the end of the action, the heel turn, I've gone into the same foot lunge, and at this moment, if I have produced the correct swing through my shoulders and arms, then I will have very good balance at the end in the same foot lunge. And of course I should continue to soften and allow my arms to breathe towards my partner in this line step.
It only hurts for a little while. That's what they tell me. That's what they say. It only hurts for a little while. For a little while. Then all your hurry, will pass away. It's so easy to be smart with somebody else's heart, but I don't know how to start.
So there you saw, ladies and gentlemen, the last of our figures in our advanced section in slow foxtrot. What we'd like to talk about with regard to the fall-aways is the usage of the forces. Effectively, the three fall-aways is a continuous action of quicks which are on the toes all the time. So the opportunity to drive the weight through is actually limited on here. So the force of energy is the action from foot to foot, and also the activity of the hips and the shoulders whilst we're going through. If I just illustrate this for you and show you exactly what I mean. So from here, from this initial setup here, now from here we have the opportunity of the first drive. Now the feeling here is this first drive is going to take you all the way through the three fall-aways. So you're driving from here, ball to heel. I normally feel on this particular step, this is where my maximum drive is going to come through. I'm going to actually blast this through as much as I can through the usage, as we've described before, the hip, the knee, the ankle and the toe. I'm going to blast it through as much as I can because it's got to go through a long way. So from here I'm going to blast it through, and from here shoulder swing backwards to assist and to add on to the energy that is going to be put to this first step. So from this position here, I'm actually blasting through and through the shape here. So once we've actually done the first blast through from here, because we're on our toes now, we need to feel the shaping down of the right hip and of course the subsequent shaping up of the left hip to the first fall away. From here, we're on our toes again, so we need to shape the shoulders down, the left is down, and again now the right is down to the finish. So it's the shaping of the shoulders that contributes towards the energy and the forces that are in the three fall-aways. But I think the initial drive is of the utmost importance. So from here, for the finish, very important here not to get the weight too far forward. If the weight is too far forward, if you've changed the poise to the ball from here, the opportunity to drive won't be there. So I'm allowing my weight to be slightly back, of course still with perfect posture. Now the drive of the leg, the hip is coming through, and the shaping of the shoulders backwards to enable this to happen, shaping again and moving backwards to the finished position. So effectively, because it's all toes, it's the initial setup and the swinging of the shoulders. That unfortunately concludes our advanced figures, and in fact we're coming now to the end of the Foxtrot tape. So what I'd like to do now, I'd like to invite my wife to come onto the floor and we will discuss the conclusion for the slow Foxtrot.
So we're now moving towards the conclusion of this tape regarding the slow Foxtrot. there's a couple of points that John and I would like to make. Firstly, each and every one of us, whether we're social dancers or competitors or teachers, will be dancing the feather step, the reverse turn and the three-step. So whilst we're competitors, it's extremely important that we dance these with quality and, most importantly, beautiful timing. And it's the timing that eventually elevates your dancing to great heights and qualities and makes you outstanding performers. So, of course, we'd like you to count in beats and bars, but that alone does not make you full in your action. It is merely there as a way of highlighting things that you are not doing with your body. So when you're counting in your beats and bars, always be conscious of what is happening through your leg action and through your body. And I'm sure you're going to find your foxtrot will be much more satisfying. So, John.
It just leaves me to say goodbye.
And goodbye from me too.